My name is Nick Hawes. I'm a lecturer in intelligent robotics at the University of Birmingham. I spend my days researching how we can apply artificial intelligence to the problems of robotics. So I work on making robots that can work with humans and for humans in everyday environments. It's a great time because I think there's lots of things coming together. I think there's a lot of maturity in the tools and hardware that we use, so the sensors that you might need to put onto robots or autonomous systems, things like Microsoft Connect, things like cameras that you can use on robots, small and light things. Also, I think there's a maturity in the algorithm, so the kind of artificial intelligence software has got to a level where robots can build maps and models of indoor environments. They can recognize humans, they can kind of track objects, and all of these things are essential in building intelligent and autonomous machines. So I'm really interested in long-term autonomy. So this is the problem of taking a robot and making it run for days, weeks and months in an everyday environment. So if you take, for example, the kind of office we're in here, this office will have patterns that appear on a day-to-day basis. So at lunchtime, people move around a bit. It becomes fuller at certain times of day, empty at other times of day. And if a robot can understand those patterns over a long period, then it can really use those patterns to exploit and kind of change its behavior. So if it's guiding someone from the door to, say, the cafeteria, it can choose a different route at a different time of day. It can learn what's normal behavior, what's abnormal behavior, and so it can kind of do security and assistive tasks in those ways. Robots will be a very useful tool in that you can remember, oh, who was that person I met 3 weeks ago in the supermarket? The robot might be able to recall their face and show you a picture. But I think they won't have infinite capability for storage. So days, weeks and months, they'll start to have, I think, almost human-like memory abilities where they might have to start filling in some of the gaps. And this is one of these problems that's actually to do with this long-term autonomy, that you can't store everything. You can store an awful lot, but you might have to start throwing stuff away and building kind of almost memory-like structures that say, well, these are the kind of things that happen to me rather than the exact thing. But I think there is that kind of interesting element, which is the robots will remember different things and more precisely, more accurately. But I don't think they will have power over you because of that, because you will be in charge of the robots and using them as a tool for your life, I think. So building robots that can get that common sense understanding just as part of their day-to-day routine, I think that's a huge, interesting artificial intelligence challenge. But there's also issues such as acceptance. So would the people here be happy if there was a robot just pottering around all day, maybe occasionally looking at their desks or kind of following them around a little bit? Kind of robots are going to need that kind of experience to do this. And I think people might find it a novelty at first, but then there are real kind of data protection, privacy and acceptance issues of having this technology very physically in our lives. So the world will change. Robots will change the world, and it will change how we work, but we'll be working alongside robots. When robots aren't going to come and replace human jobs, they're going to appear in places where they can add extra services and extra value into different industries. So I think we're going to see really a change in the way we work and different patterns. So maybe one human could do more work by having a team of robots to supervise, for example, but there's not going to be a robot that's suddenly going to replace a human. We just don't have the ability, and I don't think it's the right thing to do because humans are very good at certain things and it's going to be very difficult to build robots that can do those things. We're working on a robot that will work in a kind of a large care home. So in that case, it's working alongside nurses to use this kind of common sense ability that we were talking about, learning the patterns of behavior, to both check that the people in the home are all right. So whether someone has a fall or someone, perhaps a patient with dementia, gets up to go shopping at 3 o'clock in the morning when they probably shouldn't be, the robot could detect that these things are abnormal, but also work alongside the highly trained care staff to provide kind of portering services, turning up with trays and medicine at the right times, or looking for glasses. So these are nurses that spend a lot of their time caring, but a lot of time doing kind of small jobs that are taking them away from the kind of real human side of their element. And so we're hoping to get the robots in to do tasks that free up more human time to do useful tasks. There's lots of kind of voluntary carers across the country that are doing kind of spending a lot of their time caring for people. If they could have a little bit of assistance from an autonomous system, so not being replaced, but allowing them to kind of monitor and check and do small tasks, even if it's not autonomous, even if they have to remote control a robot, I think there's a big improvement in standard of living that can benefit whole families there. So I think that's a really interesting thing. Yeah, in terms of my personal life, something to tidy up after the kids would be good, but yeah.